Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Smart and Safe Small Business Podcast. I am here with Emma Shermer Tamir. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Alex?
I am doing fantastic. And for those of you who don't know, Emma Shermer Tamir transforms her insatiable curiosity into conversion spiking copy. I love that. As a co founder of Marketing by Emma, she's helped over 650 businesses from all around the world boost their sales and build their brands by creating authentic, compelling Amazon listings, websites, and more. She's figured out how to break through the noise, grab and hold customers' attention, and send conversion rates soaring. So, Emma, let's hop right into it. First, who's your ideal client? Who do you work with?
We work with businesses, mostly people that are selling online and really looking to establish their competitive edge, whether that's on Amazon with their own Shopify store. It's really easy to sort of get lost in this sea of a bunch of people that all look the same. And so we love working with customers to really figure out who they are as a brand and then how we can communicate that in a way that's going to help them connect with their customers.
Wonderful. And what's one specific problem that you help your clients solve?
It, exactly what I was talking about, how to differentiate yourself when a lot of times it might not be obvious what even makes you that different. If you're selling something and on the surface it seems to be like the same as 20 other products, there's still something that makes you special. And a lot of that may actually come down to who you are as a business. But figuring out how to communicate that can be really challenging, especially if you are not comfortable writing about yourself and your business and your products.
And so, what's a symptom of a business that might be struggling with differentiating themselves online?
That is going to look like a lot of cliched language that is sort of what marketing writing should sound like. A lot of times I'll see that as kind of infomercially sounding, which is constantly evolving. And so that idea of what marketing writing sounds like is probably pretty outdated. Consumers are pretty sophisticated with reading through a lot of those kind of old tired tactics, and they see those for what they are. And if you're wanting to be fresh and relevant, then you're going to need to think a little bit more creatively in order to have the impact that you're going after.
And what are some common mistakes that businesses make when they try to differentiate themselves or write their own copy?
So it can take a few different forms. On Amazon, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is getting too caught up in the keywords that they need to use and maximizing all the space that they're given. And so they can get kind of lost, and it can very easily end up looking like a bunch of keywords without much substance. And so trying to navigate how to present your product and your brand in a pretty defined way. It's not as free formed as if you're selling on Shopify or your own website. And so, because of that, I think it can make a lot of people freeze up. And then the other thing is, it's just generally quite difficult to write about yourself and your products. You may have spent months or even years living and breathing this product that you've been developing. And so what you really love is quite possibly something that a client or a customer may not even uh, care about perhaps until they get it home. And even then, maybe it won't really make that much of a difference. So it's helpful to have somebody that has a little bit of distance from the product and from your brand to get a better view of the full picture and how to figure out what is going to be really compelling and what may just be extra text that's going to make people's minds wander.
Absolutely. Sometimes having a third party perspective who doesn't have all of the background information and all of the little details about a product can really help so that you can hone in on what is most important.
Yeah, well, you also have an issue of the curse of knowledge, which is this concept that when you're really close to a topic, you forget what it's like to not know anything about it. So you might write terms and make statements that in your mind seem obvious, but to somebody that has no idea about it they don't understand it at all. And so it's helpful to remember how you were before you had any of this information and try to communicate in a way that's going to be accessible to somebody that doesn't have that wealth of knowledge that you do.
So following up on that, what is one free action that listeners can put in place today to supercharge their copywriting?
Getting really curious about who your customers are and thinking about not just the specifics of how they're interacting with your product, but how they are interacting in the world is going to make it much easier when you're sitting down to write. Because when you're sitting down at your computer and you have the blank word processor in front of you, it can be really overwhelming. And copy, just like anything else, is really about communicating. So if you can have a clear idea of who you're actually trying to talk to, then anything that you're putting down on paper isn't just, or typing into your computer, it's not just this arbitrary blob of a potential customer, but it's a real person that you've been able to visualize that you can write to. And that will make your copy far more compelling just with doing that one little thing.
And what's a free resource that you'd suggest for online businesses that are looking to maybe enhance their copywriting skills?
So we have a free worksheet at marketingbyemma.com/tax ballet. And that worksheet includes a lot of different questions that you can start to ask yourself, not only about your customers, but also about your brand. And all of that information, whether you're doing your own copy, whether you have somebody on your marketing team that's doing your copy, whether you are hiring a contractor to do your marketing writing, having these core questions answered will help make sure that you are communicating more than on just that superficial tricks and tactics level, and that you're
Hmm.
working to establish more meaningful connections with your customers.
That's great. Last question here. What's one question that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
So, how should e commerce businesses selling on multiple channels be thinking about their copywriting? And what I meant with this question is really thinking about how do you maintain a continuity of an experience when you're on Amazon, when you're on Shopify, when you're on any of these different platforms so that people understand that who your brand is, because it can be kind of challenging when you're playing by Amazon's rules and then you have your own free form website to figure out how to make the most of each of those spaces but still maintain that core identity, especially if you don't know what that identity is. And so really being thoughtful about when your brand communicates, do you have humor or do you want to come across as more authoritative? Are you a little bit sarcastic and witty? So really establishing, so we know earlier we spoke about your customers, but it's just as important to be thinking about who your brand is as a person. And when you have that idea of the types of clothing your brand would wear if they were a human and all of those types of things, then you can communicate in a way that's going to be reflective of this identity that you're trying to portray. That might have gotten a little bit theoretical, but I hope it I hope it made sense.
Absolutely, going beyond just the individual words and bullet points, but creating a cohesive brand and a style that lives across all of the channels, regardless of the character count limitations or the other things we got to wrap into maybe the listing requirements with Amazon. I think that's really solid advice. Well, thank you so much, Emma, for joining us today. Looking forward to chatting with you later.
Thank you so much, Alex. This was great.